Hello, I'm so glad you're here today. This is our next parenting class lesson, and I'm Mary from Mary's Home Sweet Home Creation, which you probably know if you've been watching my parenting classes and lessons. So, today we're going to be talking about safety um, and baby proofing your home. Now, they call it baby proofing, but usually it's more like toddler proofing because um, it's when they start moving around that you're going to have to really keep your eye on what's going on. Now, there are some preparations for having an infant and a baby in your home for safety with your changing tables and cribs and things like that. But today we're going to be talking about actually getting down and checking out your whole house for safety once um, your toddler starts to crawl and walk and then run and jump and climb and everything. So it's something that you're going to have to keep doing. Like you're going to have to keep checking your house out at different stages of their life to see if they are going to be able to do something that might hurt them or they might get into something that's not safe. Just to prevent anything like that. It's really a much safer, easier way to keep your home um, from having any more stress than it will just having children. But if they can get into things that you don't want them to or that can hurt them, we really need to do something to prevent that. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is how are we going to decide what we need to do. So if we go into the first room in our house, so we walk into our house and we're in the living room. So we want to realize, okay, my baby's crawling, so they can crawl, um, halfway across the room or it's best if you can baby proof like the first time so that like when they start walking you won't have to do it all over again. I still have baby proof latches on my cupboards because when my grandchildren are there they can't get into it, and now I have kittens that are trying to get into everything too. Um, so they have baby latches. So if you have cupboards in your living room that open easily, you want to make sure that you keep those closed. And the other thing is, even if there's not something in there that you think might hurt them, when a cupboard opens and shuts, it can get their fingers caught in it. So you have to kind of think about that too. Any drawers, any cupboards. Fireplaces are another area that are pretty dangerous and sometimes hard to baby proof because you might have brick or nothing around it to prevent the heat from um, getting the fireplace hot. So you need to figure out a way to keep that child from that area. Maybe if you need a baby gate there, or you're just going to have to keep it very, um, you're going to have to make sure that they're not in that area when you're not there watching them because that can happen quickly. If you have furniture in the living room that might um, open up and um, if it's usually takes some effort to open up a um, footstool or something on a couch, when they swing out or something like that, that could hurt them. So usually that's not a problem unless they're super strong and they figure it out. Some kids are super smart and they figure things out you never think they're going to figure out. So be aware of that. Be aware of whatever's going on in the living room area. You have lamps with cords. Any cords should be up high enough that they can't pull on them or pull the lamp down or pull any device down that can hurt them. So, like with your, if you have TVs or stereos or anything like that, all those cords should be behind the cabinet that they're in or somehow um, away from the front of it so they can't get to it. Um, so all of these things are things that we might not even think about, pay any attention to till we have kids. So they say if getting down on your hands and knees as if you were that height as the child will help you kind of get an idea too as you see things like, oh, yeah, they could get to that, they could get to this. We need to do something about, the cord over there, or we need to do something about um, this stereo that, can fall down on them, or maybe we can't have that vase on the table because it could fall on their head. If it's like a coffee table or something. So really you have to just be aware of what you have in your home and where it is and how much access that child could have to it. Now, you might have some rooms where your child's not allowed to go into that you could have, you know, more adult situation. Some people do that. Maybe they have the kids' playroom downstairs and the upstairs room is just for the adults. So however you choose to do it, it just makes sure that it's safe. Like if they are able to get there, even if they're not allowed to be in there, you want to make sure they're safe and that everything is baby proofed and put away. Okay, and it saves you stress and anguish over them getting hurt or trying to keep them from something. Um, it really helps in your parenting um, to not have to be constantly reminding the child, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Um, and just they start to learn what they can and cannot touch. And so as they grow up, they will know that more and more. Um, so it after the living room, you would go into the hallway, and Um, usually hallways don't have a lot, but you don't know. You could just crawl down the hallway, kind of check it out, see if there's anything there. Some people have a table in their hallway and it could have something on it that could fall on them. Okay, so then going into the bedrooms, checking out the bedrooms, checking out your bathroom. Bathrooms are a big safety problem because you have the toilet and you have um, the drawers that could have a lot of things in it that could hurt a child. So you have to put safety locks latches on that, or you put everything up. Make sure they have little latches for toilets too, so that they're not getting in the toilet. There's been some accidents like that with kids, so you want to make sure that you're keeping everything safe. In some houses, they'll just make sure that door is always closed, which is a good idea, except that there's always that risk that someone left it open. So safer is better. So even my kittens, they like to get into the toilet if it's open. So I have to right now be kitten proofing my house and keeping the lid down. And they love to sleep in the sink also. So um, they will get in the sink and they'll sleep in there. So I tend to like dry it out so they're not getting all. I mean, they clean themselves probably, but I'm just like there's these little footprints everywhere, but they get in there. So kids, the same thing. If they're able to crawl into the bathroom, you have to make sure it's safe. I have one shower that's had some edges on it that are sharp that are tile, and it makes me nervous whenever there's a child in there because it's such a sharp edge. Um, And so you just have to be aware of what is in your house that can just potentially have an accident and hurt one of the kids. So just be aware and try and do the best you can in baby proofing that. And then your bedroom's the same way. The kitchen area is another one where there's usually a lot of things that kids can get to because you have more cupboards and shelves, and pots and pans can fall on them from a shelf, or a hanging thing. I have one that hangs close to the stove, and I never really thought about it till the kids started coming and banging on them. And I'm thinking, okay, well, the banging is not as big a problem as if they fall off and hit them. So you just have to be aware. All your cupboards and your drawers in your kitchen should probably have a safety latch because kids are always going in there. You're usually whoever the cook is usually has some children wandering in looking for mommy or daddy or whoever the adult is in the kitchen, and um, they could get into your feet without you knowing. So you have to be aware of that and of any hot items. Um, Learning what's hot and learning what's dangerous is important. You have to just keep reminding them throughout their growing up years what can harm them so that they don't put their hand on the stove, so they don't um, slam their finger in the drawer, or maybe their baby sister's fingers in the drawer can happen too. Okay, so once you've gone through each room in your house and you've decided what is could be harmful and that you need to put away and figure out exactly how you can do that, you might have to do some research and see what's available to do that type of thing with your children. I know that my husband has um, it's like we had a lot of cords going into the DVD and the TV and that area. And so he found this um, electrical, it's like a little box that you put on the wall, and you can put all your cords inside it instead of them just being out in the open. So they would have to pull that entire thing off in order to get to the cord. So that makes it a little bit safer. Okay, so the other thing is once your house is all, you've gone over that for safety, you need to look also at your um, outside areas or other buildings in your home, like your basement might, if you have a basement, those are other rooms that you need to check to make sure that they're all baby proofed and safe. Um, Now, the garage area, they probably wouldn't be in there unless they're getting in and out of the car. So that could be an issue with what is out in the garage. So if they're getting in and out of the car and they're actually walking at that point, probably you're picking them up, taking them in and out before they can walk. But if they're out there and they can walk, you have to be aware of what they can get into because they can do it quickly when you're getting in and out of the car. And if you have more than one, you're reaching for the baby, and the other toddler could be doing just about anything. So being aware of what could happen in that situation, coming in and out of the car and in the garage area. And then, there some people have lofts, they have stairs, attics. So if you have anything like that the child could get to the stairs, and they're not age appropriate to be going up and down the stairs alone, then you need to probably have baby gates at that point if they can crawl to that area. Okay, just to keep them safe. You don't want anyone falling down the stairs, including yourself. So you have handles, banister handles, I call them, on the side rails for going down the stairs. And then if they're not appropriate age to go up and down the stairs yet, then you're going to have baby gates or something to keep them from going up by themselves. Um, and then You want to make sure there's a few like general safety rules. And all of these come from a parenting book that I um, have used over the years in some of my parenting classes, and they're pretty basic things. So, um, some of the general safety rules would be never leave your young child, um, oh, excuse me, unattended in the bathroom. So that's one of those rule things that for you to remember, that you don't ever want to leave your child alone in the bathroom. When they get age appropriate to be able to go to the bathroom alone and take care of everything alone, you just want to make sure that you're keeping track of how long they're in there, checking on them. Before that, they can get into things easily. So you want to be in there with them, checking on them, never leaving them alone before that time. Um, Install smoke alarms in your house, um, just for safety in case of fire. Mine like to go off when I burn something, but that's okay. At least I know they're working, and if something happened, I would get out and I would take my children or family members, whoever's living with you. Um, and you could just wave the smoke away, open up your windows and doors when it goes off, and it's because something burnt. But it is a great safety um, item to have in your home. These days, lots of things can happen. Um, and then you should have a fire extinguisher in your home. They sell the small ones, medium-sized ones in the hardware stores, and it's good to have those checked once in a while, but also just in case, um, if you have a situation where the fire, may happen from cooking and you aren't able to get it out, and you're going to need that fire extinguisher. Okay. Um, Keeping all your matches, candles out of reach. Okay. So now these days, a lot of people, anyways, are using the Scentsy candles, or some of those that don't involve a flame, but some of them still get warm. Um, and it's same with those fireplaces. They have electric fireplaces. Those sometimes can get hot. You have to check that out and see what parts of it get hot. But if you do have matches or any type of flame item, you want to make sure the kids are not able to get to that. Um, I know that I've had a couple accidents with candles myself, not being aware of what's above it. So, really check those things out when you're using them. It does make you aware when you do something like I did at one time and go, oh, I thought that was out of the way because it was up off on a shelf away from kids, but it was under something else that caused that. It didn't start a fire, but I could see where it was going, getting warm there. So you have to be aware of some of that just by checking it out and making sure. And make sure that you have some emergency numbers in your home. So if your children are home with someone else, they would have those numbers posted. If you're in a situation where it's a emergency, you may panic and not know how to think about calling the fire department or the police department or any other number. Now we have an emergency 911 usually on our cell phones, but if we have or we need to call grandma or somebody about coming to get the kids because you have something you have to go to the hospital or something with one of the other children. So having those listed somewhere in your home is a really good idea. Okay. The other thing is Never refer to medication as candy. So that's one of those things that when we have to take medication or someone in our house takes medication, um, explaining to your children that this is a something that helps mommy feel better and because she has this condition and it just the doctor tells me I need to take it, but it is not candy, it is medicine, and we never ever play with medicine, and we never touch mommy's medicine. Um, or we make sure that it's up somewhere they cannot get to it. So even grandparents, like I am, when your grandkids come over and they come into your room or wherever your medication might be, if it's somewhere down where they can get it, you need to put that up. And I've had that experience too, because even if it's just something like, Tylenol or something, um, are smart. Like some kids are super smart and they can figure those bottles out. And let me tell you, for elder people, sometimes those things are crazily hard to open, but the kid can open it. So you have to just put them up. It's way better to just put them up. They can't get to 'em. Some of the other things, you want to make sure that all your any rubbing alcohol peroxide, any cleaning things are put up and away from them, because they don't understand always what that is, and they want to touch it, or or they think it's just something to pour. I'll just pour it in this pitcher, and then I'll pour it over here, and I'll have a little tea party. They don't understand what's in there. So if it's a chemical and it can hurt them, it needs to go up where they can't get to it. Okay. Um, I tended to not keep any medication in my bathroom, um, because I know that when you have a lot of people in your home or coming and going, visitors, or when your kids get to the age of teenage years, or even June, or even before that, um, in order for your home to be safe, those those children who are in your home, should be able to also go into your bathroom, and you shouldn't have to worry about that because, first of all, you can't go in the bathroom with them if they're a teenager and if you're watching children that are under age and that's your job as the babysitter, the caregiver, or the friend that's watching the kids, and you have to do some kind of bathroom duties for them. But if it's a child that's older and they're in the bathroom, you're not going to be able to monitor that. And so I've always kept all my medication in my room, above, everywhere, in on a shelf, because there have been incidents of kids going through, even adults, going through medicine cabinets to get things that they think they might be able to take and use, and you don't want to be responsible for that. So, that's my advice. That it's just a really good thing not to have it in your bathroom, where somebody might come use the bathroom. Where in your own bedroom, probably no one's going in there except for your family. So, um, the other thing is, avoid letting your children play with small objects. Well, that is really, parents' choice, but as you learn that children of certain ages put everything in their mouth, and there are certain sizes of objects that they can choke on, um, or they can even get stuck in their mouth, in their throat. The other thing is magnets. I just had a friend whose son had an incident like that, um, and someone said one magnet, it might come out. Two magnets, you're in trouble because they can attract to each other within the body. And so you want to make sure that if there's anything that they can swallow that's not food, that they can actually put in their mouth and swallow that's not food, you probably don't want to give it to them. And if it's a toy, it will usually tell you what age group it's made for, but you also have to use your own discretion because things come off a toy sometimes. So just be aware of that too. Okay. Um, the other thing is never leaving your child unattended in any part of your house, right? For your basement, your garage, or your attic, um, without supervision if they're not age appropriate to be there or there's not another adult there. Um, because they can get hurt and you may not know that they've gotten hurt. If it's in the basement area, it's really hard to hear. Probably if you're upstairs and something happens, you might not hear them calling you. Um, if they're in the attic, which I don't know, I can't think of a house I know now that has an attic, but if they do, or a loft, you may not hear them from there either. So um, it's just good rule of thumb to never allow your children to be far enough out of sight that you can't hear them. Um, sometimes children will go out into their yards, and the mom and dads let them play out there by themselves sometimes, and just checking on them, making sure they're okay, and that there's nothing out there that can harm them. Um, and it's really about awareness of all the things going on around you and your home and outside your home, so that there's nothing, no strangers walking into your yard or any of that type of thing. Um, you have to be aware. And sometimes certain kids are not mature enough to be watching their other siblings. So expecting that of your older child that maybe is not age appropriate to be babysitting um, might not, they're not responsible to keep their siblings safe at 3 and 4 years old. Um, so you need to just keep checking on them, make sure everything's good and everyone's having fun without getting hurt. And the other one is leaving, if you smoke or anyone in your home smokes, that there aren't cigarettes or cigarette butts that they can eat. Um, and nicotine is not good for children to get a hold of and eat. It can make them sick. And if you have a smoker in your home and they smoke outside, make sure that there's not that type of thing around the house, either if they're out playing in the yard, that they can get a hold of. So, um, and I'm sure there's a lot more things that we could talk about with safety, but it's common sense. It's being aware. It's depending on your home. If you have a swimming pool, you have to be very cautious with those, making sure that there's a fence around them. If your children are not at the age where they're swimming and they don't go put a life jacket on before they jump in the pool, um, things like that can happen. I grew up part of my life with a pool in my backyard, and I have great memories of that, and it was fun. But there were moments that I remember thinking, is my brother going to let me come up when I run out of air? So those things can happen at any age. And so it's an awareness of all parents at all ages. And, kids will be kids and sometimes they get mad at each other. And if you just aren't sure if they know exactly, how long can you hold your breath? Probably different for everyone. So, um, but things like that can happen, and we just need to be aware and pay attention. If we have a pool in our yard, we have horses in our yards. It's really something that there should be adult attendance up to a certain age so that if there is a situation where they hit their head or something, that there's somebody there to help. Okay. And I'm I'm not trying to scare parents, but you are the responsible person in this child's life, the adult that's in the home, the adult that's with them. So you need to be aware and really take good care of baby proofing and teaching them what's safe and not safe. That is really important because there are going to be times when you aren't there and you want them to understand what's safe and what isn't safe. And other people's homes are different. So if you're allowing them to go to someone's home, you want to make sure that home's safe and you want them to know maybe they have to make that decision. Is this a safe thing for me to do? Okay, so that is the safety in the household and just some little tips for that. The other thing is there are tips for certain ages. So, as we were talking about, you have to kind of keep up with the age of the child and what is the possibilities that they might get into something. Um, in the infant stage, there's a lot of safety rules for cribs and things like I said, car seats and that type of thing, which can change over time. Car seats rules now are much different than when I was had children and even when I was growing up. I don't even think we had car seat. We didn't have seatbelts on. Okay, that was the reality of our upbringing. But with my children, by the time I had my child, it was the 60 pounds, 6 years. And that was like, wow, long time. But, you know, we know a lot more about safety in cars and vehicles. And that's why our car seats our baby seats are much safer and they're secure. And our kids are going to be safer in those. So we have to keep up to date with that. And usually your pediatricians are keeping in check with that type of thing also, maybe giving you some paperwork on car seats and things like that. And internet has everything you ever want to know about any of it, of course. So checking out what kind of car seat you should get and what is the safety rules. There are places you can take your car seats and have them installed into your car with a certification. I'm not sure they're requiring that everywhere, but I know that some states that's a requirement. You have to have that certification. And um, I think some of the fire departments and police stations, some of them do some of that, but it's been a while, so I'm not sure. The other thing that you need to um, think about, and the kids are older, is not only the swimming pool situation, but the bathtub. Leaving your kids alone in the bathtub who don't know how to hold their breath or swim is dangerous. And if they slip and fall and hit their head or any of that thing, can happen. So you will just want to make sure that you are with them if they're very young, and if even as they get older, you're checking on them to make sure that they're being safe. Because bathtub time can be lots of fun, but we can do things that might cause us to bump our head or any number of things. Okay, so just checking on them, making sure they're safe, and there's lots of fun things that you can play with them while they're in the tub, singing some songs or playing with bath toys that are only appropriate for the tub, maybe squirty guns or anything like that. Um, and bath time is a pretty important time for bonding with your children. And I think it's helpful for them to get ready for bed, and that can be part of their routines, getting the bath done and getting their jammies on, getting into bed, and getting that story read to them. It's a great way to put your kids to bed in a positive way and really bond with them during that time. And it can be mommy, daddy, maybe both of you do that together. So, but bathtubs are another thing. Any type of water that you have around your home, and you really need to stay in touch with what's going on, safety wise with that. Okay. So there are many other things, but we've been on here for a little while, and I think that I've covered most of the things. There's as they get older, then you get into bicycles and skateboards and that type of thing. Sometimes they're already playing on playgrounds and things. So um, some kids are much more capable of climbing stairs and ladders and going across a monkey bars or any type those types of play. Others are not as coordinated. Others are too young and they need to have some guidance. You might be there ready to help them up the ladder, holding their hand as they cross the bridge that goes moves around. And you might be even getting up on some of these play things and helping them go down the slide. I've done it. And till they're capable of doing it themselves, and then you prevent accidents, okay, and injuries. But if you have one in your backyard, there's most likely that they're going to be on it a lot more than just the one at the playground. And so they'll get used to it. And as you've guided them through each thing, you'll know exactly what they can and can't do. And, sometimes little things happen, but to prevent it is the best thing. So I would just like to thank you for coming and listening to this on the safety factors for children. And we'll be following up the next video, um, talking about the ages and stages we've been talking about, going over some of those, what's appropriate for certain ages. So that's the plan. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, day, or morning, depending on when you're watching this. And just enjoy your family, enjoy your children, and enjoy your life. Bye bye.